Hey guys!
Welcome back to Tribe Talk Tuesday.
Yeah, and today's episode we're actually going to be talking about a very popular Netflix show that just recently came out, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard about and maybe have watched already, which is You, which is such a crazy show. And the reason we're talking about it because it kind of brought up a lot of
social media
stuff, and a lot of relatable stuff on social media.
Yeah.
So we kind of just want to go in depth about, what we felt about the show and kind of what it meant and how social media kind of affects us.
Yeah.
So yeah, just keep on listening. For those of you who have Netflix, which I'm pretty sure it's a lot of people who have fucking Netflix, I'm pretty sure you've heard of the show You because it's a show that a lot of people have been talking about. Yeah. Yes. And we started watching it. Like, we just were curious and we decided to start watching the show. Yeah. If you have not watched You, then you might want to go finish watching it first before you listen to this podcast because there are going to be some spoilers.
Spoilers ahead.
So spoiler alert, just let you know. But yeah, so we decided to watch it because we were trying to figure out what all the buzz was about and so many people were talking about it and how it's just pretty crazy. And just with the first episode alone, we already kind of got into the topic about how social media shares can say so much about a person and what they post up on social media.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what made us want to start talking about this topic right now on the podcast. Okay, so for those of you who have watched the show, I'm pretty sure you're listening to because you watched it and you don't want the spoilers, or maybe you just don't care about the show. Who knows? But for those of you who are listening who haven't watched it, it's pretty much about this guy named Joe who becomes kind of very intrigued / obsessive about this girl named Beck. And he becomes so curious about her that he finds out, he finds out her name. He just analyzes the shit out of this girl. Just by her presence, what she's doing and how she pays with her credit card. He was like, oh, she's paying with, she can pay in cash, but she wants me to know her name. And then he finds out her name through her credit card, which is crazy because that can happen. And obviously you can find anybody online nowadays. So he finds her online and he goes through her Facebook and goes through her Instagram and pretty much starts analyzing her life or what she portrays on social media. Because he even says it too. He's like, this is what she portrays herself on social media, but it feels like this is not who she really is. Which is interesting because I feel like a lot of people do that. They try to portray a certain life on social media, or maybe they just don't want to overshare. Some people are just not oversharers. But it's they try to portray one life, but their life is completely different outside of social media.
It's just it's so funny how social media now has become in its own kind of a separate world. It's you're almost kind of allowed to have a separate identity in a sense, where people are living their life through social media by posting and sharing things that they're doing constantly. That
Yeah,
you're pretty much your own identity on
Yeah. I think a lot of people when they post on social media, as much as it's trying to show who they are, it is definitely this is the best version of me,
right.
of what what I am deep down inside. Because obviously you're not going to show super negative things. I mean, there's definitely people that do. They show they share everything just because they want people to know and to be super authentic. But I think for the most part, a lot of people definitely just want to show their positives and
right.
Yeah.
Right. I totally agree with that. I feel like people only like to show the good things that happen in their life because obviously they want people to think I'm living my best life, which is not to say there are people out there who are living their best life and who put that out there and maybe that is their life. But I feel like the majority of people kind of, like Bernadette said, they put only the good stuff online because they don't want to think about the negative, or they don't want people to know that like the personal stuff that's going on in their life, which is interesting because that's like what Joe said on the show. He was like pretty much saying that Beck was not living her true self on social media. Like she was portraying her true self on social media, and throughout the show he kind of starts to discover who she really is as a person.
And that's like not necessarily a bad thing either, because it is good to show like the positive parts of your life. People do love to see positivity and great things happening, but I think, yeah, I mean, sometimes you don't want to show the negative because it is very personal, or you know, some people just don't like seeing negative things. So it's not a bad thing if you just show the good parts, and it's not a bad thing if you show every part. It's just, you know, whatever you're comfortable with, and that's just what social media is.
Absolutely. Okay, I just have a question. So, because when you're watching this show, you realize how much people kind of Instagram stalk, which obviously that's always been a thing. People always Instagram stalk somebody. Like you meet somebody, like, oh, let me check out if they have social media page, whether it be like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever.
It's almost like your go-to.
Yeah.
To get more information from
Right, absolutely. So my question is, because in one of the scenes where he first discovers Beck's Instagram or Facebook, I don't remember what it was, she has a picture where she took a picture outside of her apartment, and he kind of like Google searches the image, and it shows him the address, and he was able to find her address, which is so scary because I started thinking about like, what if people actually do those things? But like, have you ever caught yourself like Instagram stalking somebody? I know I have.
I mean, to an extent, but not like
that. Yes, not like
crazy.
that.
I mean, obviously, when you first meet someone, anybody, of course, it's the easiest thing to do is just okay, how are they? But to like go
like that crazy
is I'm not like analyzing everything. It's just to get like a I guess vibe of how they are, but not necessarily to I need to know everything. Yeah. No, it's just like a good, I don't know, way to see the
how people are doing.
So entertain my assumption.
Oh my god.
I don't know if I'm correct about this. I think what it is that like human interaction has gone really low now. Yeah. That like people are constantly scared of sharing their interest when you meet a person. It's like so hard to tell them about like what you're into, or you don't want to be as exposed when you meet a certain person. So in a way, which is very ironic, social media or even Instagram is like your most authentic way to find out about this person and what their interest. Like I could be meeting somebody and they don't tell me like what they're into, but then I go onto their Instagram page and I'm like, oh, okay, so they're into this kind of style, they're into this kind of music, they go on this adventure or something like that you didn't necessarily receive those information from that person personally, but now I feel like I know them because of what they post. It's very weird. Like I don't know. Is that like human interaction now?
I mean, I guess the sad thing is that it is, but it is bad to assume too, because you also have to like know that what they put online is not really who they are.
True.
Because I mean, even our own Instagrams, I'm sure we put stuff, and yes, as much as it's true to ourselves, it is only kind of the surface level of ourselves. We show the little things that's not so hard to find out, like interests, or hey, I'm at this place because I like this place, or something like that. So.
Right. Which I totally agree with that. And yes, what people put out there isn't 100% authentically them. But going back to what Bolt was saying, how I know like I'm trying to figure out an example. So like there's people that I know, right? And I've like looked at their social media, and you see that okay, maybe they're friends with this one person, right? And maybe sometimes you know how you get caught in that social media hole where you're like looking at people's Instagram pages, and sometimes you may not know that person, but through their social media, you automatically assume that you know that person from what they put out there. And, like, you've ever, like, catch yourself, like, out there and you see that person that you saw on social media outside and you're like, oh, I know that person. But you don't really know that person, but you just know them based on what they put on social media. So it's true. Like, I feel like you feel like you'll know someone off of what they post, but you really don't know. You don't know that person because, like Bernadette said, not everyone is 100% themselves on social media, on what they post.
I guess, like, what I was thinking more about also, like, just supporting the idea is that, like, when you meet somebody in person and you tell them some kind of, like, an interest that you have, it's almost in a sense of telling them, like, your honesty and, like, what you're into. And, like, that fear that that person might not actually into what you're into. And for some reason, social media is just, as much as, yes, it's not everything is authentic in social media, but also it's so much more easier to be honest in social media because the impact of you opening up is not as so intimate as, like, your own one-on-one opening up to a person. You're, like, opening up to, like, a lot of people. So in a way, if people are into what you opened up, then they'll message you, but it's not as, like, I don't know, I feel like people are now more courageous to open up of what they're into on their social media rather than in person. It's very weird.
But again, I think it's just, like, surface level. As much as people are honest about what they post, it's still not, it's not deep enough to know someone. It's just enough to know a little bit about them. But you really don't know them. I think that's the thing. Like, you'll never really know someone until you meet them and you have a conversation with them. So, like, for instance, your Instagram. I guess, like, when I first met you, you have had a very different image on Instagram than you do when I know you in person.
Right.
I know you deeper now, and
how so? Now I'm curious. Like, okay, like, how so? Where's the tea?
Give me the
I'm sorry,
tea.
but I like the attention.
How did you perceive me off my
Let's
social media?
go off topic. I want to know.
So, like, your Instagram, yes, is a good surface level of you. It shows that you're interested in art. You're very serious,
Emotional.
which I think, and yeah, like, the quotes and stuff that you put are very, like, deep and emotional. So, and knowing you very well, yes, that is your surface you. But I think, but then when I got to know you, there's, like, this whole other side of you that you don't really put on social media, obviously, because that's, like, your inner deep self.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as much as, like, as much as it's easy for someone to open up on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, it's really just them opening up the surface level, the small talk of a person, which is, my interests, my go-to places, things like that.
Yeah. Now, do you think, like, although somebody puts up their surface level interest of them on social media, but do you think you can kind of still figure them out a little bit based off what they post? Like, for example, how I was telling you guys earlier, how a friend of mine was kind of telling me what she perceived of who I am based off of what I posted up on social media. And she automatically said that I didn't seem like I was very open. Now, although I post a lot on social media, but I don't post a lot about, like, my personal life on social media. But in reality, people who know me know I'm not a very open person. So the fact that even though I don't post my personal self on social media, and she was able to kind of get that about me, was very surprising. So it's like, yes, I post what I want people to know, but can you actually really figure out somebody based off of what they post on social media? I don't know if you get, like, what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's still, like, surface level. Like, when I see your Instagram, it is very not open. I can still get your interests. Yeah. But I don't know you, like, know you, I guess, if I were to look at it.
Right.
And there's definitely different levels of like openness. Like both, I could kind of see a more bigger picture with him on his Instagram, whereas for you, not so much. Obviously, I know you personally, so yes, I know you're closed off and everything. So yeah, you could could still get like the sense, but it's still not the full deep self, because now that I know you, now that I know you, like you're not super different, but you are a little different to people you know.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is with that, like, even though like it's not, you know, fully you, whatever you share on social media, it's enough for a person to go into your page, get to know you a little bit, enough as a conversation starter to get you interested, like, oh, okay. Like, enough for the person to adjust themselves to entertain a conversation in real life because they know a little bit about you, even though it may not be 100%, but enough to touch your curiosity to continue that conversation with them, and in a sense get to know you even more deeper, because now you kind of like, they show that they know a little bit about like your interests. So kind of like, just like in that the show he kind of adjusted himself a little bit so that he can be a little bit relatable to Beck.
Right.
Even though he doesn't really know her fully, he was able to be like a chameleon into like, okay, let me show her that I'm into this a little bit, enough to tap into her curiosity, like, oh, you're also into that? And then get to know her even more. Like, how creepy it is.
Right. And it's funny that you, like, brought that up, because I was actually going to bring up, like, dating apps. Mm-hmm. How, you know, when you put up information on your dating apps, you put up your interest. And it's like, I know people who've met someone on a dating app and who have, like, looked into their social media kind of as like information source of such, like, as such, like, you know, look at to see what they're interested in before they actually meet up with that person, so they kind of know what vibe to bring on those dates, which I think is very interesting, because like, instead of you just genuinely getting to know that person, you're trying to get inside their head before you even meet them.
Which goes to the question of, do you think people share too much of themselves sometimes on social media?
Some people do. I think so.
Definitely. Like, a lot of people show a little bit too much into social media. But I don't know. It feels like it's already part of our lives to, like,
a huge
show and share a little bit about your life, because in a way, I feel like people, I mean, I'm not saying everybody does it, but people find purpose in their life by sharing what they're doing with their life. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people who likes to post, like, where they go and, like, they travel, or even now with, like, geolocations tagging in where you are. It's just, it's not because you want to tag that you were there. It's because you want to share to people that you were there at one point.
Right. And it's so funny, because I had just saw this meme on Instagram where it was just pretty much saying how you feel like you have traveled the whole world based on what people have posted up on their social media. Like, people post up, like, they travel to, like, so many countries, and they'll put up places that they've been to, that you start recommending places that people have been to, even though you've never been, but you feel like you've been because of what people post up on social media, like, when it comes to, like, traveling stuff. So I thought that was really funny, because it's like, it's true. Sometimes you feel like you've been to that place because some people overshare certain things, and you know their whole vacation. So it's like, I know, I've been there in my mind, but it's true.
Which is kind of freaky, because so there's like a scene in You. I mean, I didn't finish the whole series, but there was a scene where she went to, where did she go? Connecticut. She went somewhere.
Oh, when we went to that festival.
What is it?
I forgot.
Oh,
it was like a book festival.
Wasn't it like Charles Dickens?
Yeah, Charles Dickens festival.
And then he goes, and Joe, the character who's like obsessed with Beth, like followed her there, and so she was like, "Oh, how did you even know I was here?"
Okay, but that's way different, because he only knew because he stole her phone.
Well, okay. So my point is, when she asked, like, "Oh, well, how did you even know I was here?"
His response
so
was,
he was like, "Oh, well, I saw your post, and I recognized the background, and I was like, oh, I know that place, and I knew they were doing like a like a festival or something
So
like that. And so I figured you'd be here.
Yeah.
And she didn't even question it, and that was
because
the crazy
it's so
part.
normal.
That is
not normal. That is not normal.
The fact that she didn't even question it, I feel like nowadays there's people who are actually not
that don't question it.
Will not question it because like, oh yeah, you saw my post.
Yeah,
and you saw my location.
Right.
It's like part of our lives now, which is kind of freaking great. You don't even know this guy is already stalking you.
It's so engraved in our lives, social media, because yes, for us, like, I would find that weird. But like Bolt said, there's people who would think it was cute. Like how Beck, I feel like Beck thought it was cute. Like, oh, he really wanted to see me, so he figured out where I was based off what I posted up on social media.
He put an effort to look through my picture.
Which I guess that's like an entire...
That's a whole different thing, but like...
that is so odd.
It is
so crazy.
It is very odd, but it's true. It's true. People find that... I feel like nowadays... Okay, perfect example.
Wait.
Perfect example.
Guys, let us know. I don't know if you've seen You, but let us know if... like, you would think that was normal.
What did you have thought of that scene?
Because we don't think it's normal.
No, we don't think it's normal. But a perfect example is like I was reading articles about You and how people were so infatuated with Joe and thought he was so sexy and actually people felt bad for him. Like people actually were attracted to his character.
No, they were attracted to his face.
No.
I was
reading like his character is odd, and yes, he's like charming. But that's another thing. If someone is attractive compared to someone who isn't attractive and doing those things, yes, you would find it creepy. But because he is so attractive and the way he does it is just like an interesting way that he does it, and social media is so normalized now that we're just like, oh, that's so romantic. You know? Why? Because he's attractive? Because it's still creepy. Like, I just don't understand.
I think a lot of people like was very like attracted to his character because you see his character putting in that passion and that drive to know this person and to like really. I mean, he had good intention. It's just he's using it in a very wrong way.
He killed people for this girl.
Okay. Well, before the ending of episode 1, when you're just seeing through the episode. You feel like he's very passionate. He wants like he really wants, his intention is good. It's just he's using it in a very extreme ways. But yeah, I could see why people are getting attracted to his character. But at the end of episode 1, you know that like he probably already killed somebody. That's when it gets like, okay, whoa, too much of obsession.
I don't know. I think maybe people, yes, there's definitely people that feel bad for him because, yes, he is an attractive person, which, no, his actions were still entirely crazy. But I think you also feel bad for him because you, like, see a deeper side of him. And he did grow up having some trauma.
Right.
So when you, like, see him go through that trauma, then you understand why he's acting the way he's acting. Does it make it right? No, but I think like people probably sympathize a little bit. Whereas if maybe he had a different personality and he grew up like entirely different and he didn't have the trauma he had. He was just weird. I think people would find him less passionate and attractive. I think it was just people know he went through some trauma, so they feel bad for him that way. So they sympathize for his character.
Right, but it's also the way he went about it. He was very smart. Very smart on how he went about things. Because he did not come off crazy. Like, yes, if you really paid attention to the signs, you would notice that there's something wrong with him. But he came off as a very genuine, romantic, kind-hearted, caring person. So you would never think that he's crazy and that he's gonna kill somebody for you. You know what I mean? And again, I'm sorry, I think because, yes, he was attractive, that kind of worked in his benefit. Because if he wasn't attractive and he still had went through all that trauma, I feel like people watching like, no, this guy is still crazy. And I'm not saying it's right, but I feel like it's like it helps, you know, it helps. And he was really smart. He knew what he was doing, like he knew that he could get away with it.
Yeah.
So knowing these kind of feedbacks from viewers, right? Like how like people are attracted to his character and stuff, and how other people are thinking it's crazy. And basically, like 5 minutes within the show, they show you how much information you can get from social media.
God, yeah.
Do we just accept the fact that that's the life that we're living in now?
Like it's the norm.
Like it's just that's just how normal it is now. Like no one's even like, oh my god. Like I don't think I've ever actually seen anybody say like, oh my god, you know what? I'm gonna post less about more personal things about me, or like, you know, now that you guys are mentioning it, I'm gonna be more what do you call that? What's the word? Careful of what I post. No, people just like, oh, that is true, but okay,
Yeah,
like keep on living.
It's so romantic. Like he put that much attention onto my interest. Like that's so cute, you know. But it's not cute. It's borderline stalker, you know. Like
it's basically just pointing out, like, yeah, what our lives are now.
Yeah.
You're not saying something that is crazy and out there.
That's
no,
what
you're
makes it
just
scary.
stating the fact that this is our life now, and people think or accept it as normal now, which is really crazy.
Which again, like every situation has its positives and negatives, because everything is like a gray area.
Right.
As much as being open is great, because like you see other people's lives and it can inspire you or like connect you with people. At the same time, there's like that negative side where it's sometimes too much information in the wrong hands could be a really could be like a really disastrous thing. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just like a crazy world.
It is. It's wild. Like social media is wild.
Yeah.
But it's
you don't see people stopping posting.
No. I mean, again, it's a positive, negative thing, and it's just however you want to express yourself and your life is just how you do it.
Quick.
Bolt in his questions.
I just like it just popped out of my head. Are people just like very in need of attention that even this kind of like very creepy, very like psychotic way of like stalking you pleases people? Because like in a way like, oh my god, you're validating my existence.
You crave it.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's absolutely a thing. People crave that attention. Now, no, not everybody craves.
But
yes. But I feel like nowadays, I feel like people want more and more validation, you know? And it's like they kind of get it wherever they can. So they no longer see it as something, oh, that's weird. No, they're like, oh, yes, tell me more. Tell me more about how wonderful and how
far did you get in stalking me? Like, how deep did you get? That is freaking crazy. I could actually imagine someone saying like, "Oh, you guys."
That's what she said. How deep did you get?
But no, that is freaking crazy. You know, like people will willingly to entertain any attention that they get because, like we're living in like a society now that like everybody's like on the go, and
everything is so
accessible, and everybody's looking for attention, validation, and all of this. We all just want like natural like feeling of somebody is actually like paying attention to us, that like we're willing to accept that kind of attention.
Well, like Angie said, not everybody.
Right,
I think there are definitely people that post on social media just because they want to do it in a positive light.
Yeah, right.
Of course, there are definitely people who post because they need validation, but I mean that's not everybody. And again, social media is just how you want to portray yourself, how much of your life you want to post up. It's just getting very normal.
Right.
And it's just normal. Yeah. Like, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and like Brent said, it isn't everybody. Yeah. Not everybody seeks that. But I feel like it's the norm now. Like that's just normal.
Yeah.
To see it, and I feel like now it's just like this generation of social media, everyone wants to be validated. Everyone looks at likes and how many likes they have. I've even done it. Like, oh my God. Like, the other day, I was talking to Bull. Not that, like... Well, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. Everyone, like I said, everyone seeks that validation. No matter what, you want to be validated a little bit. Maybe not obsessively, right. But a little bit, right?
There's a fine line. Yeah,
it's in between.
There's a scale. Some people need a lot of it, and some. Exactly. I mean, everyone wants
exactly. There's a scale. But like I was telling Bolt the other day, we went to see Panic at the Disco, so I posted up a post of the concert that we went to, and then I was like, wow. Only 2 people liked my post. I was like, that's kind of offensive. But, like, joking around. But in a way, you think about it, it's like, why do I care how many people liked my post? I posted it because I had fun at that concert. And I kind of caught myself. Like, I told Bull, I kind of like, wait, why the fuck do I care who liked it? I was like, and there's people who delete posts because they didn't get enough likes.
Oh my God, yeah.
There's people who do that. Yeah. I know people who do that.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I told Bo, I was like, well, I'm not deleting my post. I had a fun time at this concert. If no one likes it, then too bad.
We were joking about it. Like, can you imagine, like, deleting it and then re-uploading it and all of a sudden you have, like, 10 likes? That's just bizarre.
Yeah, people do that. And it's crazy because sometimes you start to catch yourself doing that. And I've caught myself and I had to, like, sit down and be like, okay, bitch. Take it easy. It's not that serious.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, posting on social media, your life is definitely a norm. Everybody does it from little to old. Everyone does it now.
Part of your life.
It's a normal thing now. It's just how much you post and why you want to post what you want to post and what you're seeking from when you post it, and everyone's interests and their way of sharing is very different.
Right. And it's just crazy how this show alone kind of brought up all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Because although, yes, it isn't real, you know,
right.
it's fiction.
I mean,
it could be real.
It could be real.
It could, but that's what makes it scary.
There definitely are some crazies out there.
But that's what makes it scary. It's like you watch the show and you're just like, it's entertainment. But then you start to think, like, a lot of the stuff on there can be real. And I feel like that's what sparked up this conversation, because I automatically thought, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, people do this stuff. Like, they Instagram stalk heavy. Mm-hmm. So who knows, like, what information people can get through your social media alone. So it's a little scary.
I think another thing that's really scary is that, like, people didn't really pay attention to this until the show actually premiered. Like, I feel like we were all being manipulated into this way of thinking until somebody brought it up and saying, this is what's going on right now with our lives. And all of a sudden everyone's like, oh my God, am I oversharing? Like, oh my God, that could be a possibility. Like, did we not think about it? That could be a possibility? That blows my mind. Like, no one talked about this until this show aired.
Well, it's pretty crazy because you start to think about how much social media affects your life. Like, for example, I don't know how many people watch Black Mirror, but there was an episode where it was pretty much based off of your likes in social media, and that was your status, you know? If you were like, you had a lot of likes and you were really liked on social media, you had a really high status in society.
That episode made me so mad.
And it makes you think that that's kind of like what it is. Like, people feel like you're only popular if you have a lot of followers. You're only popular if you get a lot of likes on your pictures and on your post.
It's like,
and it's just sad.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you hear it a lot where people start comparing themselves to other people, that it makes them sad.
Yeah.
And that's true, and you shouldn't do that because everyone's life is their own journey. And but it is sad that again, there's positives to social media and there's like negatives to social media.
Absolutely. There's always different sides to it. It's just you kind of brought up a very scary side to social media.
Yeah, you brought up a very
But let us know, have you seen You, and what were your thoughts
What do you think of Joe?
What do you think of Joe?
Because you find him crazy.
Yeah, he's a little crazy, but did you find him sexy? Did you find what he did romantic, or did you find it a little creepy?
I have to say I was guilty because I found it a little romantic at the beginning. Not romantic. I felt why he had to do it. Like, he had good intentions.
No.
But, yes, he did use it in a very extreme way. And, yeah, towards the end of the episode...
I'm sorry. That's because you didn't watch the whole
season.
Because when you go to the end and how quickly he moved on to trying to talk to somebody else, you kind of notice, no, this guy's just fucking crazy.
Well, I watched the whole thing, and I think for me, not that, like, he was crazy. For me, he was crazy. Yeah. But I hate saying this, but I did sympathize a little with him because of how the trauma he received. Do I still think he's crazy and he should have done that? No. But you do sympathize with his character a little bit.
Right.
So, yeah, do you guys sympathize with Joe? Do you not?
Right, yeah. Like, what are your opinions? Yeah. Have you ever found yourself Instagram stalking somebody? And what does your Instagram say about you?
Ooh, yeah.
You know?
Now that you guys, like, after listening to this podcast or, like, thinking or watching you, like, did you guys reflect on, like, oh my God, let me go check my Instagram posts? Like, am I oversharing? Yeah, am I oversharing?
How do I portray myself,
right. etc. Because I know I thought about it. I was like, holy shit, like, what am I putting out there to the world?
Yeah. But nothing.
Nothing. Apparently nothing.
Yeah. Well, you guys, thank you for listening to this episode of our podcast.
Yes.
And as always, please hit the like, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe
and let
to this
us
channel.
know what else you want us to talk about. You know, we're open to ideas over here. We want to talk about everything. So there's not one thing that we're going to refuse to talk about. So just let us know.
Let us know, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Bye.
Enjoy your week. Bye.